There is a strange moment that happens in life, a moment when someone enters your world, and nothing about it feels ordinary. You may meet them unexpectedly, in a place you almost didn't go, at a time when you were not even searching for anyone. And yet something inside you becomes very quiet, not excited, not dramatic, just deeply aware. It feels as if you already recognize them, even though your mind insists you have never met before. You cannot explain why their presence feels familiar. You cannot explain why your attention keeps returning to them, but something inside you already knows. Carl Jung believed that when two people are meant to meet, the unconscious mind begins moving long before the meeting itself happens. And the strange feeling you experienced, that quiet recognition, is often the first sign. But to understand why this happens, you must first understand something about the human mind that most people never realize. Welcome to the Shadow Self. If this message resonates with you, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the deeper meanings behind human behavior. Because what you are about to understand may completely change the way you see certain people in your life. Most people believe that meeting someone important happens randomly. They believe relationships are simply the result of coincidence, timing, or circumstance. But Carl Jung did not see life this way. He believed that many events in our lives are guided by something deeper than conscious choice, a hidden movement inside the unconscious mind. Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity. It is when two events appear unrelated, yet somehow feel deeply connected, a coincidence that carries meaning. And when two people who are meant to meet finally cross paths, synchronicity often appears first. You may notice unusual patterns. You begin hearing their name before meeting them. You find yourself visiting a place you normally avoid, only to encounter them there. Or you feel drawn to a conversation you almost didn't have. None of this seems dramatic while it is happening, but later, when you look back, you begin to realize something strange. Many small events quietly aligned to bring you together. Carl Jung once wrote that meaningful coincidences are not accidents. They are signals from the unconscious. And when two souls are moving toward an important meeting, the unconscious mind begins preparing both people long before they realize it. This is why the first encounter often feels unusual, not overwhelming, but strangely significant. Carl Jung believed that when two people share a powerful psychological connection, it is often because they reflect hidden parts of each other, parts that have been ignored, suppressed, or waiting to be discovered. This is where the concept of the shadow self becomes important. The shadow self represents everything within us that we have not fully accepted: unexpressed desires, hidden fears, unlived potential. Most of the time, we move through life unaware of these hidden aspects, but occasionally we meet someone who seems to mirror them perfectly. When this happens, something inside us reacts immediately, not logically, but emotionally. You feel seen in a way that feels unfamiliar. You may notice conversations flowing effortlessly. Silences feel comfortable instead of awkward. And strangely, you begin thinking about them even when they are not present. This reaction is not always romantic. Sometimes it is deeper than attraction. It is recognition. Your unconscious mind senses something meaningful in the other person, something connected to your own hidden development. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But the same is true for what deeply attracts us. Sometimes the people who fascinate us the most are those who awaken parts of ourselves that have been sleeping. But here is where things become complicated, because recognition does not always feel comfortable. When two people mirror each other's hidden selves, the experience can create inner conflict. You may feel drawn to the person, while also feeling strangely nervous around them. You may notice moments where conversation flows easily, followed by moments where one of you withdraws. This push and pull happens for a reason. The unconscious mind does not reveal hidden truths all at once. It reveals them slowly. Meeting someone who reflects your deeper self can feel exciting, but also unsettling, because suddenly you are confronted with parts of yourself that you may not fully understand. The same is happening inside the other person. They may feel the connection just as strongly, but they may not know what it means, so their mind attempts to protect them. They may step back. They may try to behave normally. They may convince themselves the connection is imaginary. But emotional recognition does not disappear simply because it is ignored. It waits beneath the surface, quietly. Carl Jung once wrote a simple but powerful sentence: "What you resist persists." This idea explains why certain people continue appearing in our thoughts long after we try to move on. When the mind suppresses something meaningful, the unconscious continues bringing it back into awareness. You may notice this happening in subtle ways. A memory suddenly appears. A dream brings their image back into your mind. You hear a song that reminds you of a conversation you shared. These moments are not proof of destiny, but they are signals from the unconscious mind. Signals that something important is still being processed internally. Jung believed that relationships often serve as mirrors for personal transformation, and sometimes the people who trigger the strongest reactions are those who help us understand ourselves more clearly, even if the relationship itself never fully develops. There is also another strange phenomenon many people experience in these situations: a feeling of emotional energy that seems to exist between two people, even when they are apart. You may suddenly think of them at random moments. You may feel an unexplained shift in your mood. You may sense unfinished conversations lingering in your mind. Carl Jung believed that human beings are connected through layers of unconscious awareness. Our minds are not as isolated as we imagine. When two individuals share a meaningful psychological connection, their emotional states can influence each other in subtle ways. This is why certain people feel impossible to forget, not because you are forcing yourself to remember them, but because the experience changed something within your emotional structure. You begin to notice patterns, moments when thoughts about them appear without effort, moments when their presence feels strangely familiar. These feelings do not mean you must act on them, but they often indicate that something within your unconscious mind has recognized significance. Some relationships exist to build a shared life, but others exist for a different purpose. They awaken awareness. Carl Jung believed that certain encounters act as catalysts for inner growth. These encounters may not last forever, but their impact remains permanent. After meeting someone who touches your deeper self, you begin seeing life differently. Your understanding of connection changes. Your tolerance for shallow relationships decreases. You begin recognizing emotional authenticity more clearly. This transformation does not happen overnight. It unfolds slowly. But once awareness begins expanding, it rarely returns to its previous state. You start asking deeper questions about love, about identity, about the life you are building. And sometimes the person who triggered that awakening may not even realize the role they played. Yet, their presence initiated a shift that continues long after the encounter. Both people in this type of connection are usually experiencing growth simultaneously, even if they never speak about it. One person may begin questioning choices they once believed were certain. The other may begin recognizing new emotional possibilities. Neither person fully understands why these changes are happening, but the meeting acted as a catalyst. Carl Jung described relationships as psychological reactions. He once wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." This transformation does not always mean the two people will stay together. Sometimes the purpose of the meeting is simply to trigger awareness, to reveal truths about ourselves that we had never noticed before. And once those truths appear, they cannot easily disappear. So what should you do when you experience a connection like this? The answer is simpler than most people expect. You do not chase it, you do not force it, and you do not build your entire life around its outcome. Instead, you pay attention to what the experience revealed inside you. The clarity, the awareness, the deeper understanding of yourself. Because the real purpose of these encounters is not possession, it is awakening. If the connection is meant to grow, it will evolve naturally as both people become more honest with themselves. If it is not meant to continue, the awareness it created will still guide your future relationships. Either way, the experience has already served a meaningful role in your development. Carl Jung believed that the most meaningful events in life often appear quiet and mysterious at first. They do not announce themselves with certainty. They simply arrive and change the direction of your awareness. Meeting someone who awakens your deeper self is one of those moments. You may never fully explain why the connection felt significant, but the transformation it created inside you will remain. And as your understanding grows, you begin to see something clearly. Some people enter your life not by accident, but as mirrors. Mirrors that reveal hidden truths about who you are becoming. And once that reflection appears, your journey of awareness truly begins.